Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, I thought for fun we'd chant the verses we've done so far, just to see if any of the meanings come back to us as we're chanting, okay? And don't worry if they don't, it's okay, because that's why we get to sit and teach for many, many years. And we all, not only do we get to sit and teach for many years, but we get to sit and do Shravanam for many years. That's a big blessing. So no worries on it. Let's just see what we do. We'll do it all together, okay? Ashochanan vashojastvam prajñavadamscha bhasase gatasuna gatasunscha nanushochanti panditaha veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajamavyayam katam sapurushah partha kam gatayati hantikam prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmanatushtaha stita prajñastadochyate Maya sorry, I'm trying to read it from transliteration, and it's, you know how you know which is long, short, what's a shra and a shra and so. Okay, let's try that verse again. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani Nachaham teshvavastitaha. Okay, we made it. Namaste Sujata. We made it through that. And if you all disappear, the browser is telling me that it should be updated, but I don't think you will, okay? I hopefully have told it no right now. So where did we end up? We ended up, I think, saying that we all had the wrong orientation, right? What do you mean the wrong orientation? I said, I walk, the feet are facing forward, the body moves forward when the legs move. What do you mean the wrong orientation? And we talked about how gold and chainy gold, right? And I have some memory of this at least, okay? So chainy gold. We talked about potty clay, and we probably talked about a few more things, but I remember chainy gold for sure, and potty clay because it's nice. So what we think of right now is we use the substantive, right, the noun, and we use it as an adjective. So we say a pot is a clay pot, and what are you thinking of? You're thinking of the pot, really, but the pot is an adjective, really, to clay, because if I hold the little pot, and I remembered to get pots today, quite impressed, apart from the fact I can't find them, quite impressed. So if we say that this pot here, if I say to you, any one of you, please, in fact, I'll buy you donuts from Voodoo Donuts. If you don't have Voodoo Donuts where you live, you should have Voodoo Donuts. They're very good donuts. So, very bad for you, I'm sure, full of all sorts of everything wrong for you, but they're very tasty. So, anyway, I'll buy you all a box of Voodoo Donuts because they come in nice pink boxes. I'll have to find a picture and send you all a box for wherever you are in the world. I will buy you a box of Voodoo Donuts if you take away the pot but leave me the clay. I know that the Voodoo Donuts are safe, that none of you are going to have heart failure, get your diabetes levels out, cholesterol levels up, salt, gluten, whatever it is, none of that is going to happen, because I don't think any of you are going to be able to take away the pot and leave me the clay. Okay, so this is our orientation.
I think we could take away the pot, you just said to leave the clay. You meant to play the reverse. You were asking us to take away.
No, I wanted you to take away the pot but leave me the clay. Is that what I said? Yeah.
That's what you want me to do?
Yeah, come, take away and leave the pot. So Ramagiri is suggesting that we smash it up. Yes, but if we were to look at it that way, what you would be saying is that the pot that is existing, right, it becomes a destroyed pot to us, to the Vedantam people. But if you smashed up the pot, then what pot could you take away? You couldn't take away the pot, because the pot would be gone, essentially. In the way that we look at life from the samsaric, we have to have our icks in there, okay? From the samsaric perspective, there wouldn't be a pot for you to take away. You could, even if you smashed it up though, you'd still, and I'd said to you, leave me the clay, you'd still have a dickens of a time taking away anything at that point, because it would just be the clay dusts, right? So our whole orientation is incorrect. We're not going to smash the pots, because all of our pots have happily already, I don't know if you can all see that if I hold it. You can see the little line on there. It's already a crack pot. And this one is a multi crack pot. You see, poor little thing. It has been glued back together on more than one occasion. So the pot can't get smashed. But in the Vedantic perspective, the pot can't get smashed. Well, if we're going to go that far, Solvik, we have to say what pot in the first place, okay? So, because, you have to be really clear about which level we're talking from. And we're talking from the collective level, meaning where there's just one thing, no second thing, or are we talking from the individual level, mithya, that dependent reality, which is made up solely of words along with meanings? So we have to be very clear about that, okay? So when you're talking about this with your friends, and if they're looking at you totally puzzled, they're probably getting the levels mixed up, and it's time to take a step back, and explain that. So that's what we were looking at. We were looking at this mixed up orientation, and we said that what happens is that Vedanta reverses this and says that the objects are an as though attribute of existence. And what's that? That's the names, and the words, and the meaning, the names and the forms, these two words, nama rupa in Sanskrit. So the words and their meanings are as though attributes, right, of that whole existence. So how do we understand this? And this was Arjuna's dilemma, right? Arjuna in the beginning of chapter 3, which I will find the verses here, okay? Let's see, in the beginning of chapter 3, he was saying, after Bhagavan Krishna has just finished explaining everything to him, and Arjuna says, Krishna, if self-knowledge is considered by you to be superior to action, then why do you engage me in this horrible, Swaminiji talked about this the other day, Ghora, right? This Ghore Kamani, in this terrible action. What terrible action? He's telling Krishna, I don't want to get up and fight, because he's still harping on the fact that all his teachers and his relatives and his gurus are all standing in front of him. Okay, all the people who he thinks he should worship are all standing in front of him, and here he's being told that he should fight them. So he's a little confused, because he's saying, here you are, you're telling me to gain this knowledge, and you're saying that this is indeed the way that this is going to all become something, this is the way that I'm going to learn. But why are you doing that? Because while you're doing that, while you're telling me this knowledge, you're also telling me to get up and fight. Now, what do you want me to do here? I'm really confused. He doesn't put it quite like that, though, because he goes on to say, my brain is confused. I'm confused by, I'm as though confused, or I'm confused by your words. Your words are as though confusing to me, is what he says in the second verse. So really, how does one learn to make this separation? And that is going to be the topic of today, and what we need, what we need in order for that. And it's very, Swaminiji was mentioning how all the verses are all following along together, and everywhere is at the same place, and it's the same. The teaching just always works like this. It doesn't matter how many texts you've got going. It seems like they're all saying very similar things at the same time, no matter how divergent the texts are. So that is true here, because Swaminiji just talked about Adhikaritvam the other day, and that's what we're going to be covering today, looking at. So the verse that we're going to be looking at today is verse 3:3. So the two verses I just mentioned are verses 3:1 and 3:2. And we're going to be looking at this verse 3, which, as I said, is going to cover a lot. Verse 3:3, which is our verse 5, which is going to cover all of the Adhikaritvam and then some more plus. So we may get stuck on this verse for a while, okay? So let's go ahead and chant this one. I think I'm right, the right verse, right? Lokesmin. Lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Let's do it one more time, okay? Lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Okay. So let's look at it. So loke, it's not, depending on which loka we're talking about, it could have the same meaning as in Spanish, right? Loka, they say, is kind of madness. So if we're talking about, here on this planet Earth, we could say that there's quite a bit of loka, right? There's many loka people running around who are loka. Why? Because they've all got their heads round the wrong way. We've just said that everybody's running around calling what is the substantive, as an adjective to what, to all of the adjectives themselves. So we could say it's loka, but no, loka here, loke, so in this world, we can say, okay? So in this world, then what? Asmin dvivida. So asmin, loke, in this world, and then dvivida, twofold. So that's that twofold that Swaminiji was pointing out again the other day. That dha brings in the sense of, you can have threefold, twofold, fourfold, all of this. And then disciplines, it's a twofold discipline, we can say. A twofold, I don't want to say the word paths because that's the difficult. Lifestyles, I think that's a better way of putting it. Twofold lifestyles, nishta. Twofold lifestyles for what? Does anybody know? For gaining this knowledge. It's not here in the verse, but for gaining the knowledge, okay? And you're on one of these. Whether you know it or not, you are on one of these. Or should be. I guess I shouldn't say that you're on one of these. Karma Yoga, we'll talk about at length, but Karma Yoga, where Swamiji talked about the other day that you'll take the, you're going to the airport, but every diversion comes up and in, but all the time the one goal is in mind, okay? So two lifestyles. So in this world there are two lifestyles. Pura Prukta. So in the beginning, Pura, and Prukta is just, it's been said, and then we have to put Maya here, actually, Maya, by me, it was said by me, and then this word, Anakha, and that actually is a word for Arjuna, and it means the one who is free from papa, essentially. And later on, when we get a little further on, we'll go through the names, the various names, and how Bhagavan Krishna uses these various names of Arjuna at different times, because it's interesting to see how he picks different names. I think there are 14, if I'm correct, 14 different names for Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, in the whole Gita that are used. At the beginning, you know, in the beginning, when the Jagat became manifest, it was said by me that there were these two form lifestyles. What were they? Jnana Yogena. And who was that for? Sankhyanam. Sankhyanam here is the sannyasas, and I think Swamini talked about this very verse actually the other day. And then what's the other one? Karma Yogena. And who's that for? The grihastas, but here yoginam it says, okay? And I'm pretty certain that Swamini referred to this verse the other day. So there's two ways that we can gain this knowledge. And so what's our usual approach to gaining knowledge? Our usual approach is that we go after it, you know, one goes and enrolls oneself in school, you know, or university, or one goes and signs up for all sorts of master programs that they have here in Eugene, at least. Master gardeners, master recyclers, master picklers, not picklers, what is it? Canners, master preservers. Master, that was a new one to me, I didn't know. Master preservers we have here. So one signs oneself up for these courses and to gain knowledge. So here in Eugene, being a very nice green town, we have the master recyclers. What do? You know, I can tell you quite a bit about this actually. They do all sorts of exciting things. They get to go and visit the local garbage dump. Not only the place where all the trucks go in and empty themselves out into, you know, after they've collected all the street rubbish, but they also get a trip out to what's called near Eugene, Short Mountain Landfill. Why is it called Short Mountain? Because it's a mountain of garbage, and there is I don't know whether this is why it is, I'm extrapolating a little bit here, but there's a mountain of garbage, and it's only allowed to go up so high before they have to tarp it off, and that's it. They can't add to this anymore. Anyway, you can go to this short mountain, and it's actually a big hole dug in the ground, but they're getting several big holes, and they fill them up. The smell is tremendous. I can tell you, this is a smell. This is where one is not appreciative of having a pramana and here, because the smell is absolutely tremendous. And they actually collect all of the rainwater actually permeates some of this, even though they cover it with these special tarps, so the rainwater permeates. And of course in garbage, you know, there's going to be liquid that oozes out. And they collect all of that in a special quadruply lined pit or something rather. And they have to test it every once in a while to make sure, I guess, it's not getting too flammable. And they have this place. Anyway, very, very nasty. But the good news is about this, we'll come back to what we're talking about in a minute, is that from the landfills, they actually power, there's a little, I don't know what you call it, little city south of here, Cresswell, And Cresswell gets all of its energy, almost all of its electric energy, from the garbage decomposing at this short mountain landfill. So I don't know how they turn that in, but it's kind of like, think about giant composting heaps, you know. And so the whole of this little hamlet, Cresswell, most of their electricity is generated. I don't know if they pay extra or pay nothing for that, and I think it comes free of the smell. Okay, so anyway, we have all these masters programs, and this is how we go about learning things. We sign ourselves into these master recyclers, master gardeners, master preservers, and we learn something, and then we can put that into practice. Like the master recyclers, they go around and they help out at local events. They sign up for doing volunteer shifts, and they'll help with some fair or some festival, and they'll help do the recycling at those events. So we put then what we've learned into practice. But here we're learning about the infinite. And as Swamini Ji has pointed out, the infinite, you know, we always think about, whenever we think of large size, we think of a huge number, you know, it's gajillions, trillions, bazillions, I don't know, they have lots of names for these huge numbers now. Not only lots of names for the very, very small, minuscule pieces, but huge numbers. You know, we used to just have megabytes, and now we have terabytes, right? We have terabytes now. I don't know. Gigabytes. And there was a gigabyte in between, I'm being told. I mean, you know, why stop in the middle? Just jump straight for the big one, you know. So we think about this size, you know, we think about things in size. Now, when we talk about the infinite, what size does it take that we can just add a little bit more and become infinite? You can't do it, okay? So, and if it's infinite, it's got to include me. That's the other sticking point for this, okay? So not only can we not think about it in terms of like this just amazing size, like all the galaxies, you know, and the brain can go wild thinking about all the galaxies, and just throw a few more galaxies in. And if you just put one more galaxy, it'll be infinite. It doesn't work like that, okay? It doesn't work. So what we're trying to do is learn about something that has to, by necessity, include me. And so Arjuna is rightfully a little confused, because every other thing that he's learned in life, whether it's been about Shastra, you know, weaponry, and special, you know, magical ones where he's, you know, learning that particular arrows he sends off have particular names on them and will, you know, go towards that person only. So he's learned all of those. He's learned all about Dharma. He's learned many things. He's very accomplished in life. But here suddenly the whole rug has been pulled out from under his feet, so to speak, just like it's been pulled out from under our feet, and we're being told, well, actually what you're going to be learning is actually about the truth of yourself, and we can't really objectify it. And in fact, not only can we not objectify it, you know, what object? There's no, you know, there's no subject object. It transcends all of that. So of course there's a little bit of confusion going on. So here Bhagavan Krishna is saying, okay, there's two lifestyles, and in that he actually, in the Gita it is laid out about the adhikaratvam, but because we're only doing the 10 salient verses, we are going to be talking about adhikaratvam in this verse. So what is that adhikaratvam, and do both of these lifestyles require that one needs that adhikaratvam? Does it matter whether one's going to, you know, one is taking the lifestyle up of a sannyas, or whether one is taking up the lifestyle of a karma yogi? All of these things we'll be looking at a little bit and addressing as we go through this. So first of all, I think we all know, but it's worth repeating what a karma yogi is and what a sannyas is. A sannyas just sits around under trees, right? Doesn't do anything, sits with their fingers like this or something like this, right? No, that's not what a sannyas. I'm getting some very strange looks. No, that's not what sannyas is, okay? A sannyas is someone who has made a commitment to just be focused on the teachings, okay? They don't have a whole bunch of other things going on in life. It's someone who has, as though, what we say, renounced the roles, the duties that they have in life. And this really comes a lot out of the traditional times where there were duties that one had. And we've talked about these with Swamini Ji before, where at the end of life, for instance, there is a duty to take care of one's parents' burial rites, etc., and things like this. And then there's certain pujas that have to be done. And then karma yogi is what we do, something on duty towards family and grahastas. That's a part of it. It's really, actually, karma yoga is an attitude. It's not anything that you do, it's the attitude with which you do it, okay? So this is something that's very important about karma yoga. So karma yoga is when I am on the moksha train, so to speak, and going towards moksha, but just like we have the express trains and we have the slow trains, the karma yoga train is which one? The slow train that stops at every station along the way, right? And the attitude I have with every station that I'm stopping at, with every duty that there is in my life, is that this is being done for what? For the sake of gaining this knowledge, i.e. this is being dedicated to Ishvara. I dedicate this action, this action, this action, this duty, this action to Ishvara. So it's an attitude. It's not more of an attitude, it is an attitude with which one goes about one's daily life. And so one's daily life becomes very prayerful. And this is what really you're working towards. This is what one needs to do in one's life. So everything, we start class, as you know, with a prayer. We before we eat, we say a prayer. And so a karma yogi, this is what the karma yogi's life is like. Everything is done with a prayer, done with a dedication to Ishvara. Okay? So those are the two lifestyles. So what does it take doesn't matter which lifestyle, what does it take to live in this lifestyle, to actually prepare oneself to lead one of these lives? And really, what preparation to lead one's life like this? The preparation is the lifestyle, okay? So these things go hand in hand. And Puja Swamiji used to tell us this in Anakati, is that you all come here from all walks of life, and we don't, from all different countries. Most of you in this life, at least, have not, many of you in this life have not grown up in India, so you're not familiar with, what things, that the ways of life that are followed in order to prepare one for this knowledge. And even if you have grown up in India, it doesn't mean to say that you are going to be prepared, for this knowledge. And so all of that happens simultaneously, the ashram, and being in an environment like this 1 month course, it's a way of cultivating that preparedness as well as bringing the knowledge in at the same time. There's no two, you don't really separate them out. Why? Because what is one working towards? Becoming that very knowledge, right? So the preparation is all part of that. So Adhikaratvam, what does it take for us to lead these lifestyles? So we all know this, right? Viveka, the other V word.
Vairagya.
Yep. Keep going.
The six-pack.
The six-pack. How we all the Shat Sampat, okay? That's also an AKA six-pack in America, okay? And not, and depending on what time, okay, they're all helping you out here. Shraddha, okay, so you're coming up with the six-pack, right? Shraddha, Titiksha, Shama, Dhamma's come. Yes, from Tattva Bodha, yes. Uparati. Samadhanam. Viveka, Mumukshutvam, Samadhana, yeah. We got 6, I have to count here if we've got 6. Yep, we've got them all. That's it, Mumukshutvam. All right, you've done it. Excellent. So Viveka is the one we usually start with, right? I had to go through and count all the ones down here and read what they'd all written. Okay, so just to recap it, okay? Viveka, Vairagya, and then the Shat Sampat, right? The six-pack. What is it? Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, right? Samadhana. And then what's the last one? Now we're back at the 4. We've just put the 6 in. What's the last one of the 4? Mumukshutvam. Okay? Got it?
No, I'm missing one here.
Viveka,
Shraddha.
Samadhana. Okay? All right. Everybody's got it. And you know what? If you're online, you can just scroll back through the list here because they're all there. Okay. So Viveka is the first one that we're looking into. What's Viveka? As Swamini says, we can just say, oh, it's inquiry. Inquiry into what? The difference between Atma and Anatma. Okay, moving, done, next. No, it doesn't work quite like that, okay? So what we're doing is we're discerning the I. It's the joke on this one, right? Is with the real I, stand up, please. What's to stand up if it's the real I? Huh? Okay, we're discerning I from everything else. And we have this is so difficult to do because we have such a strong sense of wanting to objectify everything around us. And so, you know, and then that I gets hooked into identifying with those things. And so that one of the first things we can do is become the witness. We've often heard Swamini talk about this. So we work at watching what? First of all, we watch the body. Oh, I can objectify the body. Body then becomes anatma, right? Oh, and then we get a little more subtle. Oh, I can watch the hunger. I can watch the thirst. I can watch the emotions. Now we're getting really subtle. And then I can watch the thoughts. So I can become a witness to all of these. So, and the more we can cultivate this, the more the rest of these adhikaratvam. What is it? Requirements? Qualifications. There we go. Couldn't think of the English word. More of the qualifications will come in. So the more, the better we get at witnessing and standing back and creating that little bit of space, the more these other qualifications come in. And as Swamini said the other day, you're going to find that Shraddha is going to be one of the main ones that all of these hang off of. But one can start seeing these thoughts. You can start looking at the thoughts, and you see that if there's a little bit of space, if you can create just a little bit of space, then one has the choice whether to make an action or not make an action. But in order to do that, one has to first of all objectify the thoughts. So one has to do that viveka, one has to see that I am not that thought. And so you can see how all of this ties in together. So, watching the thoughts, not in meditation, okay? This is not a meditation. We are not suggesting that like the Buddhists do, or the Vipassana people. The Vipassana yogi people, I don't know if they call themselves yogi, but the Vipassana people, they do these 10-day silent retreats. And they go and they just sit for hours and hours each day watching the mind, okay? That's not what we're suggesting here, okay? This is while one is going about one's daily business, watching the thoughts that come, that rise and fall. And it very, Vipassana meditation, very tough. It is tough. I'm sure it is tough, and quite honestly, who would want to do it? Because I'm not sure that it's beneficial at the end of the day. So watching the thoughts is really, I mean, this is one of the things with your viveka that will really, is really going to be very, very helpful for you. The next one, vairagya. What do we normally say for this? What's the one-worder, the one-liner?
Objectivity.
Objectivity, dispassion. Yeah, we often see dispassion, non-attachment, dispassion. So growing out of the binding desires. And viveka and vairagya go together. Why do they go together? You can't have any space unless there's some relative, there's some relative, you're relatively free from having these binding desires. And that space really is what the viveka is about, that being able to discern between atma and anatma. You need a little bit of space there, okay? So when I am identified with the body-mind-sense complex, I'm going to have ragadveshas for how things are. For instance, today it's raining and wet, and because of that, all the joints are talking back. This is a definite over-identification, okay, with the body-mind-sense complex. So the ragadvesha is, I want it to be dry, I want it to be sunny. Why do I want it to be dry? Because I'm identified with the body-mind-sense complex. And the body-mind-sense complex is saying, yes, stiff joints, you're right. So stiff joints, so the body-mind-sense complex, the mind is saying, that's you. Hey, you're the body-mind-sense complex. If it was sunny, you wouldn't be suffering with these stiff joints right now. Everything would bend a little bit more. So you see these we used to see this all the time in Anakati with fans, okay? You have no idea how controversial the use of fans can be. Maybe you do have an idea about how controversial. But these binding desires we have could take up half an hour of a 1-hour class in order to get it worked out. Not only which fans should be running above, which people, how many fans, but what speed. And there were 5 speeds, so anywhere from 1 to 5, And when you're sitting in a room day after day, and week after week, month after month, year after year, and the body is not getting any younger, I might say, attachments came up towards this, taking care of this ragadveshas came up, about whether we wanted the fan running or not, and then all of this would lead into needing a little more titiksha, okay? So over time it did quieten down a little bit, but it was a huge issue at first. So all of this growing out of these binding desires, these desires for things to be a certain way, for me to be able to be present and be comfortable, present enough to listen to the class, which we were being interrupted because I was too busy being unpresent, worried about the fan, to be present for the class. So, you can see the contrariness of all of this. So Vairagya, Viveka Vairagya, and then Shat Sampat, right? The 6-pack. And it's, as Swamini would say sometimes, it's not this kind of 6-pack where one holds up the muscle, you know, and isn't that the ribs or something? What do they call it, a 6-pack? The ribs, when people, they do call it a 6-pack. Yeah, the abs. And why do they call it a 6-pack though? When it's
well,
are there only 6 ribs?
Actually no, it's not your bones; it's the muscles. There's actually 6 muscles.
Yeah, see, now this is one kind of learning, all right? So I've just learned. Namaste, James. So you've come in at a good time. You may, no, I shouldn't, sorry, I was going to make an assumption, but let's not. So I've just learned something about the 6-pack, you know, because we're talking about the Shat Sampat, which is part of this, you know, the qualifications, the adhikaratvam for the knowledge. So the 6-pack, you know, when we hold up the arm and we do, you know, and there's the abs showing, apparently there are 6 muscles, okay? Yeah, there are 6 muscles that one sees, is able to see on people who, I guess, lift weights and things like that. Yeah, people who lift weights, and probably, anyway, we won't talk about their diet or anything else, okay? I used to, one of my old bosses was a weightlifter. And so I got to see the diet, and it wasn't very pleasant, especially for a Hindu. Not pleasant at all. Okay, so 6-pack. All right, so here we go. The first one of those, Shama. And as Swamini said the other day, the first one of those really, you know, we could say is Dhamma, okay? So let's talk about Dhamma first, which is the second one. So restraint of the organs, and we always think of like, yeah, I'm not going to kick anything, you know, I'm not going to biff anybody on the nose, I'm not going to, you know, throw my fist in the air in rage or something like that. But as Swamini pointed out, Vak Tapas, huge for this Dhamma, okay? And purposely right before class, the weather came up. And it's such an easy thing for us all to talk about. There's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with it. It's a way that we connect and how we all join. But Vak Tapas, just watching, there are statements in the Gita which talk about, you know, what we should be talking about. It should be pleasing to the ear. It should be meaningful. It should be useful to the person who's, you know, listening to it. And it should be something that's going to be giving some information that's, you know, new. It's different information. So we talk about all of these things, and when you look at life and how we talk, really we don't exercise very much Vak Tapas. And just for fun, the mind, I let the mind just go the other day and just wrote a little, you know, little skit. So it's an elevator conversation. So you get in the elevator and you're going from ground floor only up to the 3rd floor, okay? You're not going very far. Good morning, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? I'm fine. It's a little chilly for this time of year. Yes, I thought I'd be able to wear my thinner jacket today, but I guess not. Yes, I was planning to mow the backyard this weekend, but I don't think the grass has grown enough. That's a blessing, I suppose, especially as my mower needs servicing and the blades need sharpening. Yes, important to have sharp blades, especially when the grass is damp. Do you know what the weather forecast is for the weekend? Oh, I can look it right up here on my iPhone. Now, this happens all the time. I don't know how many of you have had to ride in elevators on a daily basis, but if you ride in an elevator on a daily basis, this kind of conversation, what did you learn? Did you learn anything from this conversation? Absolutely nothing, you know, and no, was anybody listening to each other? No, they were thinking about, you know, their mind was merrily going down, you know, what's on my mind? I'm talking about my jacket, I'm thinking about mowing my grass, oh, I'm thinking then, oh, mowing grass, yeah, that reminds me the mower needs to come out of the garage and have its blade sharpened. All of this, so much meaningless conversation goes on. And part of Vak Tapas is looking at the pressure that we have, the pressure that's driving the speech. And a lot of that pressure comes from this this sense of inadequacy. I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me if I don't talk? If I don't say something? I'm walking down the path with this person. What if I don't say something? What if I'm in the car with Swamini and I don't have any questions to ask? Should I be saying something? Should I be... does it make me look silly? Does it make me look clever? Does it make me look wise? All of these pressures just around what? This little thing here, okay? And this is just the pushing the air through the mouth. This has got nothing to do with the little tongue, There's another place where we can exercise Dhamma, right? With the tongue, okay? Because the tongue is all the time saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. Not only feed me, but I want you to feed me this particular thing. And so what if it takes you 3 hours to cook it? You don't want to learn anything anyway. You don't want to sit down and study, meditate, do puja. You're all doing this for puja anyway. You're just making naivedyam for puja. That's what you're doing. So Dhamma, Vak tapas being a big piece of that, tongue tapas, Chikwa, tongue tapas being another big piece of it, okay? So that's our Dhamma. So once I've got in the elevator and I found, oh, yeah, okay, I just had that class the other day and we talked about Dhamma and not, yeah, so, oh yeah, I can see the pressure building up. Yeah, really need to say good morning. It's so rude not to say good morning. God, oh, no, I've got to say good morning. What's this? I've always said good morning to this person before. They're going to think I'm rude if I don't say. So now Shama comes, right? Inner resolution. So this was an internal conversation, okay? You could do it externally. but the other person might look at you very strangely, okay? So Shama, the next one, internal resolution. So just looking, okay, there's that pressure. Oh, I see, okay. I can see that, I can directly link that into this sense of feeling inadequate, feeling insecure. And then I can directly relate that to, that's what all these classes, that's why I'm attending this 1 month course. That's why I'm doing this, because I want to be able to not be pushed by all these pressures to act in certain ways. Oh, Shama, Dhamma, 1 month course, it's all coming together. Let me be at it. Yes, I'm going to be there. Not only am I going to be there till 2:30 this afternoon, I'm going to be there again at 6 o'clock tonight. 6 o'clock chanting tonight, okay? So you get to have wonderful, this chanting is not something that falls under Vak tapas, okay? Although Puja Swamiji would say sometimes some people should exercise Vak tapas around chanting, or at least singing, we should say. Chanting, no. Singing, yes, okay? So Shama, it's that ability to resolve inside one's mind those pressures, okay? Not let the emotions take one for a ride. So the next one, Uparati or Uparama, either way. And what's our catchphrase for this one? Gone from the brain. Don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, I know you guys all know this, but it's very interesting to see why it is that the teaching. I mean, how compassionate the Upanishads are, and our teachers are, because they keep telling us these things over and over again. So Uparati, Uparama, don't sweat the small stuff. So we have a tendency, something goes wrong, and there's a tendency comes up to and you're frustrated, especially if you're in a position where you're trying, you want to put the right foot forward, so to speak. There's a pressure to behave in a certain way. So there's a little story about Janani in Georgia. So we used to have an ashram in Georgia. And Janani used to go out there, 3-4 times a year and spend 10 days, 2 weeks with Swamini. And one day Swamini asked Janani to make some chai. No problem, you know, it's a little anxious. First time having made chai for Swamini. So a little anxiety, but no problem. I'd watched Swamini do this. I knew exactly what spices to put in, and you know, and I knew that this, unlike English tea where you pour the water, boiling water, onto the teapots onto the tea bags in the teapot, one puts the tea bags in the boiling water in the saucepan along with all the herbs and all the spices, you know, and lets that boil, and then adds the sugar, and then, you know, waits until it's properly steeped, and then take out the tea bags and add the milk. Okay, so all of this we knew, okay, and don't boil it after the milk's gone in because it won't taste quite right. All of this we knew, so everything was going along fine. It all came, oh, it looked just beautiful, you know, and you don't taste anything, right, before giving it to the teacher. Everything going along just fine. Go and give that to the teacher. The teacher takes a sip, you know, you can see, and not much, but just something in the face after the sip told Janani something wasn't quite right. So it turned out that the pots, we used to keep everything in pots because we had lots of ants. It turned out that the salt pot had come out instead of the sugar pot. And so don't sweat the small stuff. So when this came out, you know, oh, that, you know, oh my goodness, what, oh no. Of course, I didn't learn about it until later on, but don't sweat the small stuff, okay? Salt, sugar, it looks the same. It's not like you can stick your finger in and go, you know, and taste it before it goes in, because to make sure it's the right one. And in case you haven't noticed, neither of those smell either. So don't sweat small stuff, okay? And this is, again, it's that pressure. The reason that we start, you know, having these feelings about things is because there's some pressure to do something right. If some people are absolutely fine with being late to a meeting, for instance. Some people are not so fine. And so you're in the car, you're driving along, and you know you're going to be late, and then some car is doing the speed limit in front of you. And you are just like, okay, get out of my way, get out of my way, get out of my way. What are you doing? I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. And just totally, don't sweat it. You know what? This is all Bhagavan. So don't sweat these small things. It doesn't, you know, the opposite, oh, I don't mind what time I'm going to walk into the meeting, you know, and then walking into the meeting late. That's not what we're saying at all. It's, yeah, you have a responsibility to go ahead and get to where you are, but there are sometimes just things that happen, that come up. Don't sweat it, okay? Titiksha, next one, all late for class. No problem, James, you were working. So titiksha, what is titiksha? What's our brief?
Patience.
Patience, huh? That's, yeah. Patience. No whining. This is where Swamini used to say that we should draw a big circle. You know, like they have the big traffic signs with a big red circle around it. It's white in the middle, and you write no whining. W-H-I-N, not W-I-N-I-G. We know that anyway, but no whining. What do you mean whining? I don't whine about things. Well, you know, sometimes that whining is not it's not overt. We have another word for it in psychology. It's called passive, right? So, you know, somebody cooks something for you and you dig into it and you take a mouthful and, oh, it's really nice. Could you just pass me the salt, please? You know, and then could you pass me some pickle as well? And, oh yeah, we'll have ketchup as well. Why not? It's like, you know, we can whine outwardly and we can whine, you know, we can be kind of whiny passively too. So just, you know, being careful with our behaviors and that, but not whining. Oh, it's this, it's that. And again, whining takes us away from the moment. Okay, so all of these things take us away. Remember the fans that I was talking about? So this, You know, Pujya Swamiji is such an amazing teacher. This whole fan thing got to a point one day where one of our students banged the fist down on the desk in the middle after this had been going on for like 15-20 minutes and said, "Can we stop here? We are here to learn, not to figure out what fan should be running and what fan shouldn't be running." And there happened to be in that particular class, it was a Sanskrit class, in that particular class, some people who weren't, you know, our regular 3-year students. They were people from outside the ashram. And they didn't say anything at that time. And Swami Sakshatji, Swami Sakshat Kritanandaji, who was the Acharya and the Sanskrit teacher, just handled it beautifully. You know, he said, "How would you all like to proceed now? You know, how can we best accommodate everybody? How would you all like to proceed?" And the class actually went on smoothly. Satsang came that night, and Janani typed up the questions for Pujya Swamiji. So in comes this question. They all got anonymously put in a box, you know, and then they would be collected and typed up. So in came a question about what I can't believe, you know, I come to an ashram where there's a 3-year course where they're learning about the truth of themselves, and there are people behaving, just acting out like 3-year-olds in the middle of class, thumping their hands on desks and, you know, complaining. And Pujya Swamiji, with all his grace, said, "I can understand how for an outsider coming in, that you know, that would look really strange. And it must be quite disturbing for an outsider to come in, you know, to sit in on one of these classes and to see that happen." And it does, you know, it does speak that we do need to be mindful that we are an open ashram. We invite anybody in, anybody who's coming through, we invite them in, they can come and visit. And to those of you who are visiting, we'd like to let you know that we take students from all over the world, and they sit here 7 days a week, 365 days a year in, year out, and they are going through one of the most intense transformations that anybody, or the most intense transformation that anybody could go through. And so it is amazing that we actually have very, very little of this. And so in that way, he validated everybody's perspective, you know. And he actually then went on and said, "If you are disturbed about something, or you see something that you find disturbing here, please, I would love to talk to you. Please, whoever wrote this question, because they had done it anonymously, please come and talk to me afterwards personally, so that you know, I don't want you to feel out of place here, but please do come and address me personally if you have any ongoing concerns about it." So just diksha, you know, just handling everybody and being able to hold everybody safely. So don't whine, don't complain, and especially don't do it if one doesn't understand the whole, you know, all the circumstances surrounding. Next one, Shraddha. And this is the biggie, huh? What's the shorthand for this one? We all know this one.
Try it, you'll like it.
Try it. Try it, you'll like it. I actually haven't heard that one before.
Faith pending understanding.
Faith pending understanding, reverential attitude, faith, trust pending understanding. What did he say? He said, try it and you'll like it. So that's a new one. Everybody's laughing now. I'm sure they're laughing out loud, but we can only read it, okay? So that trust, that faith pending understanding. And what does this mean? It means what it means is one comes to class and suspends one's notions of how it should be. This includes about how one sees the world. This includes about the teacher, Swamini Ji talked about, the teacher, the personality, this includes oneself. How should I be in class? Oh my gosh, am I doing am I doing the right thing? Am I listening in the correct way? I mean, there's a lot of internal criticism that can go in. And especially, again, that's more if you're in person rather than, if you're sitting at the other side of the computer and you know that the teacher can't see you, this piece is a little easier. But in person, you can be very self-critical. Oh my gosh, how many people would, have fallen asleep in a Vedanta class and then felt mortified, afterwards and said, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? And Swamini Ji talked about this, talks about it at length, and I talked about it as well. So that shraddha, that ability to suspend all of these notions, and it comes up, like I say, not only in with regards to the teaching and doing this change-a-roo in the head that we're doing. That was a little bit of Australian coming out there, okay? So a change-a-roo, did you get that? The roo on the end? So not only are we doing this, we're changing the perspective to get a more accurate perspective of what is going on. So this, the shraddha towards that, but we also have to be gentle and suspend the notions towards ourselves as students. We're not used to being students of this knowledge. We're students of every other kind of knowledge, but this kind of knowledge we are not used to being when we first come into this. And that takes a while. That's a process. Can I say that I'm used to it after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? We just have to be careful with ourselves on that. So we have to suspend our attitudes about what I'm expected to gain from this, okay? Last night, Swamini Ji mentioned, one sleeps because of prarabdha. Yes, that's right. So you never wake up a sleeping student, right? That's exactly what she said. It doesn't mean to say that one shouldn't drink coffee before classes, okay? Especially Swamini Ji's classes. You don't want to miss anything. So shraddha. And then the last one of our 6-pack. Yeah, and what's the shorthand for this? Oh, nobody's playing. Oh, mumukshutvam. There's one before that, Sujata, of the 6-pack. The last one of the 6-pack. Samadhana, but what's the shorthand? It's keeping the focus, essentially. Yeah, it's single-pointed focus. Yeah. So keeping focus, so keeping the goal in mind. And this is the trip to the airport, or the Indian one we use, of course, is the trains. You have the more direct train, and then you have the slow train that stops at every station along the way. And not only do they stop at every station along the way, but there's an opportunity for you to get off and have a little detour around the station itself. And depending on where that station is in India, there are different things. So like if you're in Nagpur, for instance, they have these Nagpur oranges that come out at certain time, and they'll be selling them all up and down the platforms. And so you can get those there. There may be other places in India which are known for particular baked goods, where you can get these sorts of things, or different meals. So this samadhana, single pointed focus, keeping the goal in mind, essentially. And then the last one, mumukshutvam. Here it is, Sujata, you were just ahead of us, that's all. And what is mumukshutvam?
The desire for freedom must...
That's it, desire for freedom, yeah, literally. Yeah. So literally the desire for moksha, right? And it's not always the desire to learn. That's what we have to change our mumukshutvam into, right? Into jijñāsatvam. Desire for knowledge, yeah. So this desire for moksha is not always as straightforward as it seems, especially because the train does stop at the station and, oh, I do need to stretch the legs. Oh, and there just happens to be some Nagpur oranges right here, you know. So we can take this example and extrapolate from there. So it's not always a straightforward. One can't be a little bit of moksha and a little bit of this. Everything is done with this attitude of karma yoga when one is a mumukshu. And so all of your actions are going to be guided by that desire. And we're going to talk, this is going to get into a little bit longer conversation, so we'll finish here and we'll pick this up tomorrow, because then we'll talk a little bit about how that looks for the sannyas versus for the one who's karma yoga. Okay? Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, thank you all. No problem. Oh, no problem, no worry. I will see you, well, I won't see you all, but Swaminiji will see you all at 6:30. And actually, I will see all of you who are on live stream, because I get to have that one in front of me. Thank you, Om.